Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by just reading this ad. What I like about Anchor is now that it's part of Spotify, you can reach more audience than ever before. And of course, it's very easy to use and get things done, even if you're just using your phone. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Leyte belief. Originally, the Aswangs were ordinary people. However, they developed supernatural powers that made them become demonic creatures. When they are in their human form, the Aswangs live with ordinary people, undifferentiated and undistinguishable in appearance and behavior from others. But when they desire to dunder non-human guys, which they usually do about dusk and often near the residence of a sick person, they transform themselves into animals like a cat, dog, pig, or bird. This desire is actually a craving on their part to eat human flesh. At times, the aswang is seized by an intense craving, one which is so consuming that he becomes literally uneasy and restless. Unable to control this power yearning, the aswang then anoints himself with a special oil that will make his body slippery and, according to one belief, even invisible to the eyes of the ordinary people. Only those who are called manggita, or those who have applied their eyes the eye wax of the canine, can see the aswang who are invisible. It is at night, no earlier than 9, when the aswang leaves his abode to hunt. People have come to regard the quick-quick or wak-wak birds as the aswang's pet, who scout for the latter. When the aswang hears his pet make their noise, which is the signal, then he departs and hunts his prey. Aswangs, they could be male or female, do not make people sick. Instead, they target sick people or people who are weak and defenseless, like mothers who have just delivered babies or the babies themselves. In case they target a pregnant woman, they may grasp the mother's vagina and crumple it, and she will die. Or they may pull the umbilical cord of the infant, and the latter will die. In attacking their prey, aswang may scratch or bite. It is said that they find the sick person's bowel contents particularly delectable, but they do not show interest in voided excreta. Aswang may either be slightly developed or highly developed. The former are those who are newly infused with their evil powers. Being just rookie aswang, they are not yet adroit in using their powers. This kind of aswang can still be cured, and once that happens, they can regain back their former selves and live like normal people again. In the case of veteran aswang, they are far more dangerous and very hard to exorcise. Old-timer aswangs are said to have sigbin, animal-looking creatures that the aswang utilize for transportation or scouting a victim. Neighbors treat those who are suspected aswang just like normal people. However, they do not eat, even if they may have accepted the food prepared or cooked or offered by aswang to avoid being contaminated or infected and turned into aswang. There is this kind of aswang that detaches only his head. It is only the head that flies away, leaving his body at home standing against the fence of the yard. There are some ways to kill an aswang. Acts which are called pagsuma. One way is to pour ashes on the part of the aswang's body which has been left behind. The ashes will prevent the aswang, upon his return, to reattach back to the body. This will make the aswang die. Another way is to stab the aswang with a dagger. If the aswang is able to escape, he will return home. He will not die. He will just feel sick. However, if someone will visit the aswang and tell him that he has been stabbed, only then he will die. If it happens that the aswang is under the house of the sick person he is trying to attack, by simply turning the part of the flooring above him, the aswang will make the aswang transfixed or immobilized on that very spot, and under such state, the aswang can be caught or killed right away. Cebu belief. In Cebuano language, the aswang are called ongo or onglo. The ongo is a witch, a fearsome one, who has the power to transform himself into an animal like a dog, pig, bird, bat, and the like. At times, he is called a kaskas or a wakwak if he makes those kinds of sounds, or a balbal if he preys on sick people. If he turns into a small but ferocious bird, he is called a kiki. If he detaches his head and intestines from his body and flies in the night sky, he is referred to as manananggal. There is the further belief that when a manananggal transforms into a bird, he is called a pilik-pilik. One characteristic of the ongo is his craving for human liver, flesh, and blood. The ongo in his animal form attacks by ambushing his prey in the dead of the night, often in secluded areas. The ongo's long hair figures in the attack. The victim gets suffocated by the ongo's hair that jams his nostrils and eventually gets smothered by the unbearably odious smell of the powerful odor of the special oil that the ongo has applied to itself. Or the ongo may make himself invisible before making his attack. Ongo at times keep pets for themselves. These pets, which are called sigbin, appear in animal form. At times, their appearance is similar to that of rabbits or kangaroos, and are as harmful and deadly as the ongos themselves, as this little creature can cause illness or death. They have the power to disappear and reappear like ongos. During the last phase of the moon, these sigbins could be seen frequently. It is said that an ongo sigbin will produce an offspring if a child is born to an ongo. If it happens that a sigbin is killed by anyone, the latter must burn the sigbin's remains, lest the ongo, by her power, brings her pet back if she finds even just a single strand of hair. But the ongo, if she so desires, can easily replace the dead sigbin by turning an ordinary cat or dog into a sigbin. The belief is that one can either be born an ongo, a parent being an ongo, or be made an ongo by the process of transmission, which is called salab or takob sa ongo. Salab comes in different ways. One may become an ongo if he has been stared at in a particular way by an ongo. Later, the former suffers weakness and loses his appetite. Then, he is overcome by a strange behavior, like feeling the urge to jump out of the window or showing odd manifestations. Another way is by contamination. Here, the ongo spikes the food of the victim with some strange ingredient, which is said to be a small bird or the liver of a sigbin. When the victim consumes the food, he will become sickened and, with headaches, dizziness, disoriented, show odd behavior, act like a mental case, before eventually becoming an ongo. One may become an ongo if he touches, like out of pity, the dying ongo, as the power will be transferred to him. Usually, the ongo will try to make her offspring the recipient of the power. If the expiring ongo is unable to find a new host to transmit his power, he endures tremendous torture. If he fails to find a new recipient, the ongo can transmit his power to a dog if he is able to touch either animal. Once happens, the bewitched animal will become a menace as it attack and kill people. Tagalog belief. The aswang is either a witch who can assume the form of an animal, like dog, a cat, a caiman, or crocodile, or any animal except the sheep, or even like a cockroach, or a witch who can fly. The first kind is the shape-shifting aswang who has the power to cause sickness or death upon its victim by its spells. If he turns into a cockroach, the aswang hides under a sleeping mat and while there it extends a tiny tongue to draw out the entrails of the young child. Or disguised in such animal or insect form, the aswang will shadow the person if he desires to attack. And when he finds him alone in an isolated place unprotected, the aswang will strike. The favorite disguise of the aswang is a dog. If the dog has an unusual long tail, it is said that it is an aswang who is carrying a weapon. This aswang is sometimes referred to as the katanod. Before he attacks, he hovers around in the immediate vicinity of the house of his intended victim. His favorite prey is the woman who is about to give birth. He lingers around the house of the woman in labor, waiting for the right time to attack. What the household members usually do is to put a light in the place and put garlic around the house. If this fail, gun or firecrackers are usually to drive off the katanod. The second kind is the flying aswang called the manananggal. Undergoes transformation by halving his body at the waistline. There are wings that grow out bat-like wings in the upper part, enabling the manananggal to fly. The lower limbs and the lower part of the body are left behind. The manananggal is accompanied by a night bird called the tik-tik, which guides the former in the hunt for the prey. This flying aswang attacks by perching himself on the rooftop of the targeted house. Once there, he brings out his thread-like tongue to reach the body of the victim, usually a child. And once the contact is made, the aswang sucks out the bowels of the young prey, who then dies as a consequence. The manananggal is the worst kind of aswang. Both kinds of aswang also prey on those who are sick, a terror of the patient, as this creature watches to get the blood of the patient and to steal the child. Aswang also hunt those who have just died. They devour the flesh of the newly buried corpse. There are several ways to fight off the aswang. The use of the garlic can ward off the aswang, the latter being repelled by the powerful aroma of this particular vegetable. The local lemon, called dayap, also drives away the aswang. If ashes are placed on the lower half body left behind by the manananggal, it is sure to result in the aswang's demise. Another effective measure is to use the tail of the stingray, something which is feared by the aswang, or a bukawe, a species of bamboo, which is sharpened at the tip, can be used too. Katanod is the term often applied to a person who loiters about or stays for undue length of time in a house without any apparent purpose, especially in a lady's house. If a pregnant woman is walking in the field at night, she must hang down her hair, as it is thought that it will scare away the aswang. This is one way of protecting her unborn child from causing it to be an aswang also. In the latter stage of her pregnancy, it is necessary for the woman to sleep under a black cover so that the aswang will not see her. Another aswang deterrent is to keep a fire burning under the pregnant woman's house so that the smoke may keep the aswang away. In case the pregnant woman voids urine on the ground, water must be poured over the spot of voiding, as the aswang will smell the urine and the woman will have hemorrhage at the time of labor. To drive away any aswang attack when a woman is in labor, the husband must wield a sharp saber and ascend the rooftop of their house. There, he must continuously swing the saber, cutting the air until the parturition of his wife is over. Or, another option, the father and his friends should circle around the house during the moment of birth and should mutter certain incantations to cast away any approaching aswang. One way of curing an aswang is to tie up his hands and feet, then place beside or near her a vessel of clean and clear water. Once the worms, beetles, lizards, and the like comes out of his mouth and nose, the aswang will be cured. The aswang usually appears as a normal human being. If a person is suspected being a demon in disguise, he will be put to a test. A dish with garlic in it will be set in front of him. If he refuses to touch it, then it is certain that he is an aswang. Bohol belief. In their belief, the Boholanos referred to aswang as ongo or onglo. The ongo, so it is said, appears to us an old woman with deep, piercing, and steady-looking eyes. She sports an ill-cared hair that cascades down her shoulders. She lives all alone in her house. All day long she sleeps, but when darkness sets in, she rises and goes out in search for food. What she does is to make her voice sound low, deep, and coarse by smoking nipa and nangka leaves. She would don the appearance and the likeness of a man. She targets small children. This was reason why, so it was believed, many children before and during Spanish time failed to reach the age of 5. There is a nocturnal flying animal which the Boholanos call the wakwak, or at times spelled as uwak-uwak. Its skin is like that of a bat's and has the attributes of that night creature. However, its appearance is similar to a crow if at rest and assumes the shape of tray when in flight. When so flying, it utters the sound wak, wak, wak. It is believed, however, that this creature is a woman or the spirit of a woman who is possessed with a mysterious power to transform herself into an invisible bird whose wings flap over the roofs of the houses. This woman uses some kind of oil that transforms her into another form. She pours a little of this powerful liquid in her hands, rubbing her body with it. When she morphs into a black bird with formidable claws, she soars high in the night sky, uttering and said above, "Wak, wak, wak." In her search for her prey, she examines each house. At times, she goes under the house to await for her prey. At other times, she goes inside the house if she finds the means to do so. It is said that the wak-wak desires women more than men, with the preference to a pregnant woman. The best way to avoid an attack from a wak-wak is to take outside the house a basin of water with a lemon floating in it. As soon as the wak-wak sound is heard, the words wak, 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 di ay limon, or wak, 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 there is a lemon for you, in the translation, should be shouted repeatedly until wak, wak fades away. If the wak-wak is just within a short distance or perched on the rooftop, and this method is executed, it is said that the wak-wak will drop to the ground in the form of an old crippled woman groaning in pain. The words asin asin wak-wak or salt salt wak-wak in English can likewise be uttered loud in the direction of the wak-wak. The belief is that salt is used in baptizing children. It is a kitchen item that is likewise a sign of holiness. In Bohol, the wuwud is the term for the manananggal, the self-segmenting aswang. Negros belief. The aswang can assume any animal form when he goes out in search of prey. Though he has the power to fly, the aswang cannot do so if he has money with him. He has the power to harm anyone he likes or hates. Using his magic doll with a pin, he can hurt whom he had chosen. If he touches or jabs the eyes or necks of his victim, the latter will suffer from diseases of his eyes or neck, and this will lead to his death. The aswang also have the power, because of their slippery body, to go to any hole in the house at will. It is in the evening when the head of the aswang separates from his body. Then the upper part flies over roofs of houses to search for food. Infants are preferred by the aswang than adults. But the aswang's favorite is human liver, because to him this is the best part of the human body. The aswang too can change the bark of a banana tree into a person. If the tip of the dead person's fingers does not have lining, or the print on the skin of the fingers who has just died, then it is certainly that the body of the person is not real. It is bogus dead body. In this case, the aswang has managed to alter the appearance of a banana bark by virtue of his power into the looks of an ordinary human. This then means that the aswang has substituted the dead man's real body with that of a spurious one. Further, the aswang can change the body of a person with any other animal to eat. When somebody hears the tick-tick sound in the evening, the aswang is around the vicinity. During Good Friday, sand is tossed at the aswang. Then, he, with eyes burning red and his hair standing on end, will get back at the one who had thrown the sand. It is said that the aswang domesticate animals like crocodiles, owls, etc. to help them capture their victims. Those who are just newly turned aswang are stronger and more dangerous and aggressive than the older ones. The aswang will never pass through the door of another's house if there is a pestle across the door. In case, when there is a crab in the mortar inside the house which he will visit, the aswang will surely refuse to enter or pass through the door. The burning of something like the horn of an animal or feathers of chickens will repel the aswang as he cannot stand the rising odor. In case the aswang who tries to sneak into a house is stabbed with a knife, he will be forced to go home. In the morning, if the aswang is visited by the one who stabbed him, the aswang, upon being asked why he is sick, will explain several reasons behind his illness. When the visitor departs from the house, the aswang will surely die. These circumstances is referred to in Bisaya as sulanga. Panayan belief. The aswang is a human being possessed of a devil, someone who has been given supernatural powers by the evil spirits. There are two kinds of aswang, the aswang prowler and the flying aswang called the manananggal. In Capiz province, this flying aswang is called tanggal, as we will discuss later under Capiz belief. The latter is an aswang that has the power to sever his body at will, the upper half flying in the evening sky to hunt for prey, while the lower portion is left behind in the forest or any suitable place. In the hunt for his victim, the manananggal hovers over houses to spy on those who are either sick or pregnant women. He has powerful eyes, luminous eyes, that can look through the cracks in walls and rooftop. The aswang prowler has the power to change himself instantaneously into any kind of animal, with the exception of the dove and the sheep, since these two animals represent sacredness in religion or purity in the animal kingdom. It is also believed that this kind of aswang can transform himself into certain kinds of trees or vegetable. This power of transformation is sourced from a special oil which is made from human fat and mixed with rare herbs which are known only to aswang. By rubbing this oil in his body, the aswang can change into any animal she desires. This oil, it is believed, will last for several generations, and its potency increases over years. Though he usually desires sick or bedridden people, the aswang may attack people who are healthy. The newly dead too are desired by these demonic creatures. Once the aswang has spotted the corpse, he can steal it and substitute it with a banana stalk, which he can transform instantly into a life-size duplication of the stolen body. It is believed that this power is so effective that even the family members of the dead person will not be able to distinguish the replica from the original corpse. The only instance where this power may fail is when the aswang is unable to set the imitation in the same exact position the original corpse was. Aswang target only those who live in rural areas, who are not well-mannered or the ill-bred. This is so since these demonic creatures are themselves bad-mannered. They are smart enough to know their presence among the cultured people who would be immediately noted and would excite suspicion. The way to become an aswang is when an aswang contaminates the food of the victim with even the smallest piece of human heart and liver. At the early stage of the possession, the newly transformed aswang does not pose a danger yet to people, but he or she starts to feel strange, becoming a recluse, surreptitious in his or her move. Then, he or she develops a great urge to eat newly hatched chicks or other fowls. Once he does eat these animals, he devours them as natural as normal people feast on their meals. On the 9th month, he or she gives life to a bird or animal and becomes a full-fledged aswang possessed with the power to transform himself or herself into that particular species of bird or animal. Young female aswang, it is believed, are enchantingly beautiful in appearance, but they soon morph into the most gruesome creatures. Mentally strong people, though they may have eaten some contaminated food, may still be cured by the exercise of sheer willpower to overcome the curse and their determination to become a useful member of society. One other cure is in the case of women who have been bewitched. If they marry healthy and strong-bodied and mentally superior men, then there is a chance for this possessed woman to be cured of the aswang curse. To kill a manananggal, one must have with him a specially prepared concoction, common salt, wood ashes, and crushed garlic. While the manananggal is away, the special mixture must be poured into or sprinkled over the severed lower torso of the manananggal. Once this is done, the death of the manananggal is sure to happen, as he will not be able to reunite back to his other half. There are some measures that may be used to repel aswang attacks. One is to wear a charm or anting-anting, made of either a piece of copper. This metal, it is believed, is a symbol of the sun. During midday, the sunlight is light golden and becomes reddish at sunset. Burnished copper represents these colors in combination, and as aswang are fearful of the sun god, they will not attack anyone wearing a symbol of the sun god's power. a tiny shred of shark bone, or a crocodile's tooth. Both the shark and crocodile are more powerful and are resistant to any aswang's attack. And these animals prefer to eat aswang than normal human being, or a black coral, which is used as a protection against disease or evil spirits, or a combination of some or all of these items. Kapi's belief. The aswang takes or consumes one root, isang gamot, to make him omnipotent. He assumes double personality. One is the human form and the other is the aswang form. This aswang form, in turn, has about 3 kinds. The first is the wakwak, which looks like an umbrella and flies at the night. The wakwak targets solitary travelers walking at night in isolated areas. He attacks by sweeping down the prey on the road and carrying the latter up. Then he stings the victim, who becomes paralyzed. The second kind is a tanggal. In this form, the tanggal separates his body at the waist. The hind part is left behind in tanggal's home, while the head part takes flight to hunt for children. The last kind is a tiktik, the aswang who transforms himself into some animal. It is in this form when he prowls at night to search for his prey. The tanggal and the tiktik have some different kind of power. They can make a piece of food become like a child. They can endow it with life and every appearance of human and send him home. And then, upon arrival, the child gets sick, dies, and buried. The real child, however, is seized and feasted upon. This aswang trick is for the purpose of hiding the fact that the real child has been abducted to prevent the family from conducting a search on the missing child, and thus to eventually find out that the child has been eaten by the aswang. If the victim is an adult, what the tiktik does is, after seizing him, takes his liver, send him home afflicted with a stomach ache. Then the victim dies. The tiktik then secretly substitute the corpse with a piece of wood, the latter transformed like the dead man. What the grieving family will later bury is the only piece of wood, as the real corpse is already in the possession of the tiktik and being feasted upon. There are some kinds of weapon that can be used against the aswang. One is a poniard, or a slender dagger with 3 or 4-sided blade, made of bronze. Another is a certain kind of a solitary black hydroids, a jellyfish-like creature found in the sea. If the aswang is hacked or cut with a bolo, he can cure his wounds or make his wounds move into a less delicate part of his body. But if the attacker visits the aswang early the next day at the latter's house and greets the aswang, or chances upon the aswang elsewhere and greets him before noon of the day, then the aswang will not be able to remedy or cure his wounds. The aswang will die if the wounds inflicted on him are fatal. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I hope you enjoy and learn a lot about Aswang. In the next episode, we will discuss more about other regional beliefs, including the places in Iloilo, in Bicol, in Pampanga, and other several places in the Philippines. So make sure you are subscribed to this podcast. And once again, thank you very much and have a great day.